Come on. We will win. Because we will hit all game. We are motivated. We are dedicated. Come on now. Come on now. We will win. Because we are the best on the field. And we hit the field like all day light, all night light, on the blue light, offense light, defense light, his squad light, house call light, and it sound light, and it sound light, and it sound light.
Yeah.
It's official. It's official. It's official.
Combine season is upon us.
I'ma do this here forever.
EQ.
Forever.
Triune.
Forever.
Yeah.
Forever. I'ma do this here forever.
Let's go.
All you haters better be gone. This the day you've been waiting on.
Welcome to the Short Sports Show. I am your host, Daniel Short. Today is Wednesday, March 16th, 2015, and it is officially March Madness. It has been with the tournaments, and now we finally have the first four that are going in. We're going to talk about that as well as partially my bracket. We're going to go a little bit on that. And then we're also going to talk a ton of NFL free agency moves that have happened so far, what to expect, who are the biggest winners, who are the biggest losers, Browns, and a few college football news all wrapped up today. We just an amazing show today, a ton of news, a ton of topics to talk about and discuss with you guys. Before we get started, of course, be sure to follow me on Twitter at Short Sports Show. Become a fan on Facebook, The Short Sports Show. And check out my website, theshortsportshow.squarespace.com. The intro you guys just heard is from Triune featuring EQ. It is their song Forever. You can buy it right now on iTunes. Go check it out. The link is in the description. Be sure to follow them on their social media sites as well. Like I said, we got a ton of college football news to talk about. We're going to get that going first. I feel like there's something new. If I sound a little bit different, there's two things. One, I finally somewhat have built a solid foundation of using Adobe Audition for the recording. So if it sounds a little bit better, audio-wise, that's good because that's exactly what I wanted. I was using another program for, obviously, forever, for the whole time. Now I feel comfortable with this. It finally works. I like it. So that's what we're going to start using if it sounds better, and I believe it will. Also, here in Texas, we have just crazy weather, of course, but there's a ton of allergies right now, and it is yet to rain in central Texas. Hopefully, it starts to rain here pretty soon, so that way I can wash all this stuff out because I feel kind of stuffy right now. But anyways, that's not what you didn't come here for the weather. You came here for sports, and that's what we're going to provide for you. So first of the news is college football, and that's with LSU. They announced Thursday that quarterback Anthony Jennings does intend to transfer after losing a starting job last year. Now, he appeared in 12 games as a sophomore in 2014, and he led him to a 9-4 record in 13 career starts. Les Miles said in a statement, quote, "This is an opportunity for Anthony to prove himself in a position to help another team have success. We wish him nothing but good fortune in the future and appreciate all that he did while he was a part of our program." Jennings will remain at the university until he graduates this summer, and then he will transfer. And once he does, graduate and gets his degree, he will then be eligible to play anywhere, no matter what, FBS, FCS. He'll be a graduate transfer, and so he can go anywhere he would like to play, which for LSU, I don't know if this is a good move or a bad move just because of the fact that their quarterback position has not been good since, what was his name? It started with Jefferson. I can't remember his first name. Jefferson, when he took them to the national championship, they haven't had a quarterback since. It's just been bad. Now, Anthony Jennings, you're thinking maybe would help with the quarterback competition, but he hasn't proved really to be a capable starting quarterback to rely on at least. Thankfully, you have Leonard Fournette, so that helps it just a little bit. But because of that, Jennings is gone, and LSU is looking for a brand new quarterback. Speaking of a quarterback who had high hopes and is hoping to rebound after this is Dak Prescott, former Mississippi State quarterback, is looking to be selected in next month's NFL draft. I like him. I'm a huge fan of Dak Prescott, but he disappointed a lot of people on Saturday morning after getting a DUI charge and was arrested by the Starkville Police Department Sunday morning. It was a late Saturday night. 2 days earlier, Prescott worked out for 30 NFL teams. 30 NFL teams. 30 different scouts were there watching the Mississippi State Pro Day, which included Dak Prescott. But 2 days after that, he gets a DUI, which it hurts him. I wrote about this, so go ahead and check it out. I won't talk too much on it. But he is projected around, depending on where you look at, but most of the main area, the main websites, they are projecting Dak Prescott to be anywhere from the 4th to about 6th round. Really, that's where he's at. Just depending on when quarterbacks go, and that's where he's at. Now with this and teams wanting to stay away from quarterbacks that are starting to get in trouble, because remember, this isn't the first time he's been involved with the police. Last year on spring break, he was in a fight that wasn't his fault, but still was in a fight where he had a cut when someone threw a bottle at his face. They were out in like Panama City or something like that. And so there's now starting to have question marks on his off-the-field issues. This is what he had to say on Sunday. I am very remorseful for my misjudgment. I want to truly apologize to my true supporters, my family, Mississippi State University, the NFL, and the kids who look up to me. I won't ask for forgiveness. However, I'll show the true man I am and exhibit my character through my actions and behavior moving forward. Prescott, I believe in you. I hope you can really learn from this, because this was a stupid mistake that he just made, and could, obviously it's going to cost him some money, and, maybe a team that was looking at him like, I don't really know what teams potentially looking at him late in that round, but there's basically there's 30 teams that were looking. 30 teams that were looking. And you could have hurt your chances with about half of them. There's some that are still going to give you a shot, but you really got to make sure Prescott doesn't screw up again, because he's got the talent to sit and learn for a couple years and maybe become a starting quarterback. But if the off-the-field issues keep coming, it's going to be a problem for Dak Prescott. Some other news: the Pac-12 has approved a new policy that restricts transfer students with a history of misconduct from joining a team or receiving athletic aid, aka a scholarship. It prohibits student-athlete transfers from participating in athletics if they are ineligible to re-enroll at any of their previous universities because of misconduct. The policy applies to issues such as assault, harassment, academic fraud, but not academic performance unrelated to misconduct. So you could still be a terrible student with grades, but as long as you don't assault anybody, you don't harass anybody, or academic fraud, you're all right to come on transfer. This is very similar to what the SEC passed just last season to prevent conference schools from accepting transfer students with history of domestic violence or sexual assault. If you have one even minor case of it, you are not allowed to transfer to the SEC school. Thankfully, the Pac-12 is picking it up. You'd think it'd be common sense that the Big 12, the Big 10, the ACC, all these other conferences would quickly start to pick this up too as well. So far, nothing. They have not done anything about it. But I'm glad the Pac-12 has done something as well. Baylor running back Devin Chaffin was arrested and charged with possession of marijuana in Oklahoma on Friday. Head coach Art Briles said in a statement that Chaffin, quote, has been suspended until further information is gathered. So he's only suspended until, they find out, oh, okay, you were just arrested for marijuana. All right, you're back. We got all the information we needed. He's not going to miss any time. No. They were on spring break anyways. He's not going to miss a thing. And really, there's not too much to miss anyways. Chaffin's vehicle was stopped for suspected speeding on Friday morning. During the stop, marijuana and marijuana candy, which had been purchased in Colorado, was discovered in the vehicle. Chaffin was arrested and booked into Tillman County Jail on possession of marijuana charges. He played a majority of the backup role for Baylor in the past 3 years for rushing 121 times for 578 yards and 9 touchdowns as a junior in 2015. Some news for Clemson, which isn't the best, but no, it's not actually. I was going to say it was okay, but no. It's kind of bad. Dabo Swinney announced cornerback Adrian Baker has a torn ACL. And for most fans, and maybe most Clemson fans, you might be thinking, okay, that it sucks. We lost a player, but we'll be all right. Not really, because you've already lost 3 starters to the NFL draft, including Mackenzie Alexander. And Baker was supposed to step up and take that number 1 or number 2 role, depending on what Packers they ran. Baker was supposed to be that guy. He is now out, most likely for the 2016 season. They're keeping hope alive, but honestly, when you have a torn ACL, we've seen the recovery time on most athletes, and it's an entire year. Florida will open up spring practice with 2 key offensive players suspended indefinitely. This is late. This is literally this happened, I think, 8 days ago. But I just missed it last week. I don't know why. I thought I knew. Quarterback Trayon Harris and wide receiver Antonio Callaway have been away from the team since January. Head coach Jim McElwain said Tuesday, and the Gators are not saying why they are suspended. Schools officials confirmed Tuesday that Harris and Callaway are enrolled in classes for the spring semester, but McElwain said there's no timetable for their return. According to Gainesville Police, Campus Police, and court records, neither one of them have appeared to be subject of a criminal investigation. So some more misconduct for Trayon Harris, which doesn't help him because McElwain doesn't like him already, and he continues to screw up. He's been given the starting job multiple times, and he's just throwing it all away. If you've been a fan of the show for a while, you'll know that I have been a huge fan of Trayon Harris. I keep wanting him to succeed, even when he got in trouble in the past, but now I'm officially done. I don't care for Trayon Harris anymore. You can't take a horse to water and expect it to drink. Same thing with Trayon Harris. You can't expect to give him the starting job every time and then him just continuing not to perform. He just doesn't. Antonio Callaway, on the other hand, he's projected to be in a pretty good pick in the NFL draft come 2017, and there's been some recent off-the-field issues now with him that are, starting to become a problem for Antonio Callaway. But yeah, I was a huge fan of Trayon Harris, and he's not doing it. He's not doing it for me. Bowden said that he doesn't think any team of the Group of 5 conference has a prayer of making the college football playoff, even if it finishes undefeated, because the system isn't inclusive enough. Bowden, the former Auburn coach, said that he's long been an advocate of an 8-team playoff and to give a Group of 5 program a chance to be the type of Hoosiers team. Quote, I don't think anybody in a Mid-American conference believes that if you go undefeated that you're going to be in the Final Four. I don't think they're going to pick us. There's always going to be 1 or 2 teams with 1 loss from the SEC or a Big Ten that they're going to pick over an undefeated team. With 4 teams, not a chance. I don't think we coaches believe there's a realistic chance. I don't think our players believe the 4-team playoff gives us a realistic chance of playing in a national championship. I don't think we have the same luxury. I don't think we hoodwink our guys into thinking that. As it now stands, there's some kind of way that an undefeated Group of 5 conference can get in. Now, Bowden said he doesn't even think undefeated Houston this upcoming season would even get in, and that includes Houston. They open up with Oklahoma in NRG Stadium this season. He doesn't believe that they would even get a choice, being picked into the college playoffs, even at undefeated, which I disagree. I think Houston's the only team really that if they go undefeated, that means beating Oklahoma, that they would then, get in. But he continues to say, they'll say, well, gosh, Oklahoma faced 12 Oklahomas. Y'all played one good game. I'm not bucking the system. I'm saying go to 8, and you'll probably have a chance to get a team to get in from a mid-major level. Go to 4, and I think we're pretending, end quote. So that gets me to ask you guys, again, I know this has been a repeated question. Do you believe the college football playoffs should expand? I don't know about 8 teams. I think that's pushing it. I think 6 teams is where we'll eventually end up in the next 2-4 years. 8 teams, that's a little high. That's a little high. And I also don't agree with the fact that he thinks an undefeated Houston would not get in. I think Houston beating Oklahoma, whether it's by a field goal late in the end of the game or anything more than that, and they play well the rest of the year, I think Houston's in. But it does bring up a good point. What if LSU loses one game, and then you still have Alabama? Maybe they're at 1 or 2 losses. You have a Big 12 team that might go undefeated, or 1-loss team there. Maybe like the Oklahoma. What if they have their 1 losses to Houston? I hope not. Hope TCU can get in it. And then what if you have Ohio State or Michigan State? Michigan, 1 or 2 losses. You have Notre Dame, anything like that. What if you have multiple power teams that hold weight, as we've seen before? Would they get in over undefeated Houston? I don't think so. I don't think that. Now, if Houston has 2 losses, then yeah, or even just 1 loss, they're most likely out. I think if you put it together, if their 1 loss is to Oklahoma, they have a better argument. If their 1 loss comes to a team like UConn again, then Houston is definitely out. They can say goodbye. It's basically either you just lose to Oklahoma and that's it, or you go undefeated all the way. You lose to any other team, your season is over for a college football playoff. We'll just have to see. But man, I don't know. I believe it should be to 6 teams in the playoffs. I think that gives the 1 and 2 seeds, they rest, just like in the NFL. They rest, and then 3 versus 6, 4 versus 5. Winner of those go on to play 1 or 2 seed, and we go from there. I think that's the perfect way to get it all wrapped up, and then we have a specific list of specific guidelines that say this is what we're looking for each and every year, and you got to fit into this criteria, and you're done. And they got to take into account, okay, well, this team looked better in the first half of the season than in the second half. Oh, this team looked better in the second half than they did in the first half. Taking into account all of that criteria before the season starts, have this set of rules and guidelines first. That way there's not any change of emotion late into the season when we find out. But that's what I believe. Let me know what you guys believe. Tweet me at Short Sports Show. Become a fan on Facebook, The Short Sports Show, and check out my website, theshortsportshow.squarespace.com. The NFL's top health and safety officer acknowledged Monday that there is a link between football-related head trauma and chronic trauma, or CTE, the first time a senior league official has conceded football's connection to the devastating brain disease. It just kind of sounds like this was common sense. I think we all knew that was true. I think for them just to say, oh, this is what Jeff Miller, the NFL's senior vice president for health and safety, said, quote, the answer to that question is certainly yes. Okay, they're making a huge deal because it's the first time a senior league official has conceded football's connection to the devastating brain disease. No crap. I think we all knew that football and repeated hits were going to cause some chronic and head trauma, or AKA CTE. I think that was common sense. I think we all knew that. why it's a big deal. They finally announced that yes, it does. It is related. I don't know. I think we know that. I think that's just like saying boxing and CTE go together. Oh, thanks. You didn't have to be the senior league official to let me know that that was true, that it was some conspiracy cover up the whole time. And, they told us it's real. No, I think we all know that. And he said that he based his assessment on the work of Dr. Ann McKee, a Boston University neuropathologist, whatever, was diagnosed with CTE in the brains of 176 people, including those 90 of 94 were former NFL players, and the disease can only be diagnosed after death. Well, I think it's pretty safe to say that we know repeated head hits and things like that in football, that they're going to cause those type of things. If you needed a senior league official to confirm that for you, well, I'm kind of sorry for you. I don't know what else to say, because I think we all should have already known that. We've seen concussions happen. We've seen the big hits. One thing that was pretty interesting that was on this topic that I wanted to talk about were just two things, and I want to make sure I get to them and pretty quickly. First is I was listening to a podcast yesterday at work. I think it was Rich Eisen. I'm pretty sure, but I don't know for sure. And the question was asked, what could someone do? It was a rugby player. He's been an all-star rugby player and all the certain awards that they get. And he said, well, what if they went back to not having helmets? Because so many players, they go and dive in because they got a helmet on. They think it's going to protect them completely, so they could just dive in with their helmet, whether it's at the knees, at the chest, or wherever. And the guy said, they say, well, what if we just took off face masks? And players can't reach for the face mask. Maybe they'd be more reluctant to not lean in with the head because nothing's really protecting the actual, of course, face. Well, he said, I got a much better idea. What we do in rugby is there's a penalty if you do not fully wrap the player down to the field. If you don't wrap them down and tackle them completely wrapped up, then it is a penalty against your team. And he said the NFL should adopt that penalty and say, okay, every defensive player, when you're going in for a tackle, there's no more big hits. There's no more leaning in with your shoulder and just trying to knock them out with your arm. You have to wrap up and tackle them. If you do not wrap up, and it's okay if you miss the tackle, but somebody on your team has to wrap up and tackle them or get pushed out of bounds. If that does not happen, it is a penalty against your team. And he said if that happens where there's now a penalty, you will see a decrease in players going in for the big hits, which is obviously true. And I think it's a smart idea, and why the NFL and why nobody else has ever come up with this is beyond me. I mean, think about it. I'm sure most of you, just like me, we never thought about that. And, some people think, and I understand, I'm one of those people that, now they just want, defensive players can't really hit no more like they used to back in the old days. And that is true. And I miss the big hits. I miss the celebrations that we used to have back in the TO days and the early 2000s and stuff like that before it just got too crazy. But this definitely needs to get picked up. It really does. I mean, imagine the change in this. Players saving their necks, their heads, their careers, their lives, their personal lives, not dealing with so many concussions. It doesn't completely eliminate. You can always get a concussion from whiplashing down to the ground. That's something we can never take away. They're never going to play on a trampoline. They're never going to play on a soft bed. That's just how it's going to be. But at least it saves the player from really injuring himself and or the other person by diving in like a speeding bullet. I love the idea. You get a penalty, make it a big penalty, a 15-yard, just like a holding call is, how it costs your team. You have to wrap up, and that's it. I love the idea. I think that should be something that needs to be passed along to everybody and shared, because it would save a ton of people. It truly would. I want to hear what you guys have to think about that. Tweet me at Short Sports Show, and follow me on Facebook, theshortsportsshow.com. Anyways, facebook.com, of course. And another point I want to make to this, which I've already forgot. It was whether or not, because of this, allowing your kids to play in football, does it change your perspective now over the past few years, what we've had, and now that it's been, for the first time ever, a senior league official of the NFL has confirmed that football's connection to the devastating brain disease is true. No crap. I think we all knew. Does this change your mind on allowing your kids or future kids to play football, play contact football? To me, I've always had it, my whole idea, no matter what, before the CT thing came out and more concussions were more announced like they are now, I would still have my kid just play football, or if he wanted to, right when he's in middle school, right when it's, a school, when he's playing for a school. That's usually 7th and 8th grade. I'm sure that's normal around everywhere, but I just want to make sure that's clear for everybody else in case it's anything different. Maybe they can't play until high school, which is another thing. I wouldn't let them play a CFPO or, Pee Wee football, stuff like that. That's just a waste. It's a complete waste. I understand you're trying to get, for football at least. Basketball, I think that's fun. It's great for them to meet other kids playing basketball, baseball, volleyball, golf, I don't know, something else. Non-contact, really. That is fine. I think that's fine. They learn the game. They have fun. They learn life lessons. I'm all for that. Football, on the other hand, because of the roughness of it and because their bodies are still developing, they're still basically a sponge, there's no need for them to play football. Now, don't get me wrong. I love watching Friday Night Tykes. I love watching that show. It's about Texas Texas youth football. It's an entertaining show, and these kids, thankfully, they're starting to learn not to get hurt. At least they started cutting it out. The first 2 seasons, you saw a lot of kids getting hurt. Now, this season, you don't. But anyways, I wouldn't allow my kid to play football, even if he wanted to, when it's CFPO youth football. Not going to happen. Wait until you're in middle school. Body is more developed, and it counts because you're playing for your school. Then, go for it. Ball out. Make me some money when you got off to college, or not to college. Don't get paid in college. Don't do that. But help me out. I don't have to pay for college. But, because of that, that's my thing. If you allow your kid to play in youth football and CFPO, hey, awesome. Just, I'm sure you already understand the risks that go involved. And maybe it changes your mind to think that, is this really worth it? In the end, they're just getting a tiny little trophy that says you played, either participation trophy. If you don't believe in those and your team ends up winning, you still get the same exact size trophy that just has a different title on it. That's it. Is it really worth risking your kid for that? Why not put them in a different sport, less likely to get hurt, and they still understand, they still get the same principles, the same lessons, and move on from there. All right, let's move on from that. Now, the NFL and NFL Players Association are making progress towards a deal that would strip Commissioner Roger Goodell of disciplinary power when it comes to off-the-field infractions of players. Union Executive Director DeMaurice Smith told the Wall Street Journal, quote, "We've been talking about changes to the personnel conduct policy since October and have traded proposals. We looked at the league's proposal for neutral arbitration. There is a common ground for us to get this done," end quote. Now, Smith said he's optimistic about the deal, although sources connected to the talks told the Wall Street Journal that the deal is not imminent and there's many hurdles that remain. And I'm on that side. I don't think they're just going to easily say, all right, everybody vote. Should he keep powers? Should he not? All right, that's it. There's going to be so much political, so much back and forth talk between this. Now, I'm not a huge fan of Roger Goodell. I'm not a fan of anybody that just really does nothing and makes nearly $42 million a year. A commissioner in sports should not get any. I know they're called the commissioners. They shouldn't get any commissions that come from player signings and stuff like that. They should never make anywhere close to over $5 million. And I know, and when we see all these big contract signings, we think that's so small. You're like, only $5 million? What are you talking about? There may be 10 at least. No. What does Roger Goodell truly do? Answer. I don't know. Nothing that is worth $42 million. Nothing that's worth more than $5 million a year. He does not do $42 million worth of work. He doesn't. And if you want to take away the bonuses that he gets, and we'll just round it down to at least the $10 million that most people say is average or fair, you're telling me that is $10 million worth of work? Absolutely not. Absolutely not. So that's my biggest issue is Roger Goodell and some of the, taking away the celebration rules and stuff like that. That makes me hate you even more. Now, what they're trying to do is take away his power, any power that he has of suspending any player that has an off the field problem. It does something. Ray Rice, for instance, Adrian Peterson, the Tom Brady thing. Now, Martavis Bryant, which we'll talk about here in a bit. He could not suspend personally. He could not hand out a suspension or a punishment to any player with off the field that has an off the field issue. Cannot do it. It goes down to the Players Association, and basically, I guess DeMaurice Smith, he would then take the power because who else? Someone's got to do it. It's not going to be a popular vote thing, you know that for sure. So it eventually goes down to him, and they make the punishment happen, whatever it might be. I don't care. I really don't. I just care about how much money he makes and that he shouldn't make that much money. Not that I'm jealous. I'm not jealous at all. I mean, trust me. Yes, do I wish I could make a million or 100,000? Absolutely. I wish I could just have $100,000 a year. Absolutely. I'd be happy with that. I'd take the NFL commissioner's job for $100,000 a year. But no commissioner in any sport should make that. I mean, CEOs, I talked about it a few shows ago. I talked about how much money executives and CEOs, people that do a ton more work than Roger Goodell does, that don't even make the same amount as Roger Goodell. Not even close, or even the ones that are close, some are lower than his, and there's only one guy I think makes high. I think Nike, or no, not even Nike. I forgot who it was. Some big-time CEO. There's only one guy that makes more money than Roger Goodell and CEOs in America. That's ridiculous. That's absolutely crazy. That's nonsense. That's stupid. Roger Goodell should not be making that much money. But anyways, that's my rant. The NFL spokesman Brian McCarthy said in a statement about this, quote, "This is an important area that deserves to be addressed thoughtfully and with full consideration for everyone's interests, players, clubs, fans. We are addressing the subject in a serious way, and we will continue to discuss this directly with the union and not in the media," end quote. All right. We'll see. We'll see about that. Now let's move on to NFL free agency moves, some of the things that have happened recently. We've had a big blockbuster trade with the Miami Dolphins and the Philadelphia Eagles. Byron Marshall, Kiko Alonso going to the Miami Dolphins, including all their $60 million contract, to the Miami Dolphins for a switch of a draft pick. Dolphins go from 8 to 13, I believe, and the Eagles go up from 13 to 8. Seems like a lot just for very little. I don't know. But we've had another blockbuster trade, and this one I believe is actually bigger than what we just had. The New England Patriots, this happened yesterday afternoon. The New England Patriots have traded Pro Bowl defensive end Chandler Jones to the Arizona Cardinals for offensive guard Jonathan Cooper and a second-round draft pick. This is huge for the Patriots, and this is huge for the Arizona Cardinals. They've been wanting a young pass rusher. They had Dwight Freeney last year, obviously not young, but he really did a great job last season. For what he was in, he did a great job, but they wanted a guy that can be down there all three downs and someone that is ready to work for several years to come. Now, the thing is with Chandler, he is in his 5th-year option of his rookie contract. He's going to make $7.79 million unless Arizona restructures. And I think the 5th-year option, either way, he still gets it. So I don't take my word on that. But the Cardinals are going to want to lock him up soon. And honestly, if I'm in front management and front office management, and I'm looking at this and what we're projecting with Jones, how he fits in with the scheme, blah, blah, blah. Obviously, I would have done my homework before the trade. But Chandler Jones is really good. And it's shocking that the Patriots did this, that they were willing to give him up over someone else. But anyways, if I'm the Cardinals, before Chandler Jones even picks up a Cardinals jersey, I'd sign him to at least a 3-year deal, 3 to 4 year deal right now. Because with the option of, we've seen these contracts with, after 2 years, we can cut you and it doesn't hurt us with financially. Something like that, because if Chandler Jones, if they let him go and play his 5th-year option with the team with $7.79 million, which is pretty solid money, and he ends up racking up, last year he had 12.5 sacks, his career high. If he continues to produce that same way, or if it goes down a little bit, or anywhere just around that, and has a solid year, he's going to ask for a ton of money, and we've seen how crazy these contracts have been this offseason alone and how bigger they're getting each and every year. You lock him up now for a solid contract, maybe still paying him $8 million a year, and I think we're set. And that way you keep him somewhat cheap, still paying the guy, but not paying him the $12 million that he could possibly pursue if he has another season like he did last year, and then you end up losing him, and you just gave up a first-round draft pick from your Jonathan Cooper from a few years ago and a second-round draft pick for this year. That's what I do. Jonathan Cooper, on the other hand, for the Patriots, it gives him an offensive lineman. Cooper tore his ACL in preseason in his rookie year against the San Diego Chargers, but it's been pretty solid. Okay-ish. Hasn't proved to be a first-round pick like he was, but maybe with the Patriots scheme, it changes. Is this big for the Patriots because obviously they don't have a first-round draft pick, but they already have a second-round draft pick, and now they get another one. So it kind of makes up for not having a first-round draft pick, especially when they're going to be so low in the pick anyways. This is a solid pickup. My stupid self should have looked up where they're at in the draft picks overall and what this puts them, but this is good. They can end up getting a defensive end or defensive tackle here in the draft in the second round, and then they can address the offensive line. They can get a receiver. Patriots did a really good job. It just scares me giving up Chandler Jones. You got to get a defensive end or a defensive tackle here pretty soon, because we've seen the NFL how it thrives off having a pass rusher. Chandler Jones was that guy for them, the young guy for them. Now he is gone, and now you got to replace him for a draft pick. We'll see what happens, but huge pickup for the Cardinals and a pretty solid deal. Could be even better for the Patriots coming into the draft and seeing how it goes. The Patriots did sign a defensive end after this trade. They signed Chris Long to a 1-year deal. Now, Long, he was a second overall pick back in 2008. He started 95 of his 114 games with the Rams, compiled 54.5 sacks, 41.5 came between 2010 and 2013. Looked like he was the best pass rusher, one of the best pass rushers in the league. And during that time, he ranked 5th in the NFL over that period. However, over the past 2 seasons, injuries and age have caught up to Chris Long, and he's only had 4 sacks since then. Since 2013, he's had 4 sacks. That's scary. But maybe with the Patriots, it rejuvenates his career a little bit. He turns 31 on March 28th in a couple of weeks. So is he going to produce like Chandler Jones did? No. But will he help ease the pain a little bit? Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. Huge deal for the San Diego Chargers after being very cheap in the offseason the past few years. They've done a pretty solid job this season keeping some of their players, some of their smaller players, and signing the best cornerback in the free agency. That was cornerback Casey Hayward. He agreed to a 3-year deal with the San Diego Chargers on Sunday. And he split time between the slot position and the outside cornerback spot and led the Green Bay Packers cornerbacks in playing time this season. He was on the field for 88.1% of the defensive snaps. However, Hayward failed to record an interception after picking off 9 passes in his first 3 seasons, including 6 as a rookie in 2012. But he's been pretty good. The Packers ended up drafting 2 cornerbacks in the draft last season, I believe even with their first 2 picks. So he kind of moved down to the depth chart, but he still played very solid. He didn't do too well against Demaryius Thomas, so hopefully we don't pair him up when we play the Broncos. But he did pretty solid on Emmanuel Sanders against the Broncos last season. So for the Chargers, this helps. We already have Jason Verrett, Brandon Flowers, if he can play healthy and play like he did 2 years ago, this is good. And now we got Casey Hayward. Huge. You got your trio of cornerbacks. With the 3rd overall pick, they even signed Dwight Lowery for a safety spot. We already lost Eric Weddle, which was a given. But if the Chargers can draft Jalen Ramsey from Florida State, the safety/cornerback, he wants to play cornerback, so we could put him there. Or we could put him at safety spot, or could put him at both, depending on what the defense brings for John Pagano. This would be huge for the San Diego Chargers. I love it. I hope it happens. We'll have to see. But I'm starting to feel a little bit more confident. There's a lot more pieces that the Chargers have to fill. They still got to fill the offensive line. We still got to add a receiver or 2, maybe even another running back. We have to get more safeties, more linebackers, more defense. We got to get every freaking position, which is crazy. Thankfully, we now have 8 picks this year. Past years, we seriously only had 5 or 6. We haven't even had a full 7. This year, we finally have 8 picks in the NFL draft. So, and they're high picks, thankfully. The Bears agreed to terms with defensive lineman Akeem Hicks, who I really liked. He was a Patriots defensive end as well on a 2-year contract. The team announced Sunday. He's 6'5", 324 pounds. That is a big dude. That's a big dude right there. And I really, really wanted the Chargers to sign him. We don't have a big guy. We have Brandon Mebane now. But if having him in there, 2 big guys like that, I'm telling you, it's something different. Something different. He's a veteran in a 3-4 defense, which should be an upgrade up front for the Bears. Obviously, they struggled. The Bears allowed 3.03 yards before initial contact, which was 3rd worst in the NFL. Hicks was accredited with 21 tackles and 3 sacks and a fumble recovery for a touchdown last season with the Patriots. The Broncos have reached out to free agent Ryan Fitzpatrick's representatives, though Denver is unwilling to pay what the salary that Ryan Fitzpatrick wants, which it seems like every team is feeling the same way. They don't want to pay Ryan Fitzpatrick. Now, preliminary talks come as the Broncos continue to search for their new quarterback following Brock Osweiler's decision to sign with the Houston Texans and the retirement of Peyton Manning. Now, the Broncos and Fitzpatrick, they said they could revisit some talks and that the Broncos are going to track what Ryan Fitzpatrick is doing. They've already brought Mark Sanchez in, which a lot of people have attacked that. Look, if we think about it, if we try to be positive here, as you see, I'm a Chargers fan. I love the situation that's happening in Denver right now. Mark Sanchez, if we look back, remember his first 2 years, he led the Jets to the AFC Championship with a brand new coach too, new staff. Those first 2 years led him back-to-back to AFC Championship games. Now, since then, he's been okay. 2 years ago with the Eagles, stepped in, he did pretty good. People didn't want to give him credit. He did pretty good. Last season, didn't get that much time, and when he did, it was bad. I think with the Broncos, it'll be fine. I honestly think if it comes down to it, Mark Sanchez is a quarterback for the Denver Broncos come 2016 season. They're going to be fine. Honestly, the AFC West is completely flipped now. Obviously, the Chargers, my team, we suck. The Broncos looks like they're about to suck. They've lost a lot of pieces. And offensively, they got C.J. Anderson back, of course. And then with Mark Sanchez being your quarterback, can that guy lead? There's not really a quarterback in this draft that can step up and start. This is not a good time for the Broncos to not have a quarterback. It might be good to call Payne and say, hey, what you doing? But honestly, the Broncos, I think they shouldn't even make the trade with Mark Sanchez. I think they should have. Now, we haven't heard what Ryan Fitzpatrick's deal is. We haven't heard how much money he's won. Now, obviously, it's a lot that no one wants to sign him for because of Brock's stupid deal that he got with the Texans and how ridiculous that amount of money was. Who's the other quarterback? I got Nick Foles. Obviously, no, not Nick Foles. Redskins quarterback Kirk Cousins. He got his franchise deal, which was a ridiculous amount of money. And a few other quarterbacks that just got a lot of money. Sam Bradford, that suck, and he gets a lot of money. Just, I can go be quarterback right now. I can suck in the NFL, probably would, and I still make at least a few $1 million. Not bad. Not bad at all. If I was the Broncos, I'd do anything I can to try to get Ryan Fitzpatrick. He's the most proven quarterback out of everybody right now, and you pair him up with the receiving staff that the Broncos have. Now keeping C.J. Anderson, draft a few offensive linemen. You're set to go. You're set to go, Broncos. At least for another playoff run. This is not good for the Broncos right now. They only have one other quarterback other than Mark Sanchez. That's Trevor Simeon. And this is not good. Now, for Fitzpatrick and the Jets, and Fitzpatrick is 33 years old. That's what's killing him. He's already signed bad deals like with Buffalo, where he got a pretty good amount of money, and he sucked. Now, last year, he threw for 3,900 yards, 31 touchdowns to 15 interceptions. Just his first year with the Jets. They've been nowhere close to agreement. They can't find a deal because the Jets are offering probably a realistic contract. And Fitzpatrick is like, well, all these guys have got their money. I'm trying to get paid. I want to get paid. You pay me. Because I produce more than any of these other quarterbacks. You pay me. And it's not happening. Now, the Jets, they met with RG3 over the weekend, and a lot of people were thinking it was a bluff. Might be. They were saying, oh, they're only doing that just to throw smoke at Ryan Fitzpatrick and saying either you accept our deal or we will go get another quarterback, and we have no problem doing it. I think that's a partial lie, but Ryan Fitzpatrick, he needs to just accept whatever deal the Jets or Broncos offer him. Whichever the one's the most, you could go to the Broncos, say this is what the Jets offering me, offer a little bit more, whether it's a year, whether it's the amount of money, which is most likely about the money. Just say, this is what I want. Or add incentives in there. If I do this and this and this is what I want. Could do that. He could say, and if I'm Ryan Fitzpatrick, again, we don't know what the contract he's wanting. But if I was him, I'd say, all right, this is what the Jets are offering me. We're going to make up money. 3 years. 13 million. No. See, that used to be a big contract. Now that's a backup. That's a third string. 3 years, $24 million. That is what the Jets are offering. I feel like that's already high, but we're gonna rock with it. Go to the Broncos. That's what the Jets are offering me. You guys offer me 3 years, $28 million, with the incentives of if I win this, if I take you guys to the Super Bowl, give me $2 million extra, and if we win the Super Bowl, give me another $2 million. Do the Peyton Manning deal of the bonus. Maybe. I feel like that's still too high, and I feel like a fool saying that, but that might actually be low. That might be a low deal. Who knows? With this stupid market that we got right now. Maybe. Because right now, Colin Kaepernick, he's now looking like he's backing out of the trade and saying, all right, I'll just stay in San Francisco. I'm not going to get my money. You guys are the only ones paying me. They got until, I believe, April something. April, I don't think it's the first. To figure out what they're going to do with him when that money comes fully guaranteed. If they're serious about trading him and getting out, because he's not going to restructure his contract unless he leaves. And honestly, I don't think he will anyways, because that should have already happened with the Browns if he was going to do it. I think he still wants just to get his money, and I don't think he cares anymore. We'll just have to see. What do you think the Broncos do for the quarterback? Are they screwed in 2016 with Mark Sanchez? Do they get Fitzpatrick? Do they get Colin Kaepernick? Do they get RG3? Do they get Uncle Rico? Who do the Broncos get to start in 2016? Let me know. Follow me on Twitter @ShortSportsShow and let me know in the comment section down below. Defensive lineman Eugene Sims has agreed to a 3-year, $10 million contract to re-sign with the Los Angeles Rams. In 2015, Sims started 9 games, posting 24 tackles and 1.5 sacks. I guess that would still be plural. And a forced fumble and a fumble recovery and an interception. He almost returned for a touchdown in the season finale. In 6 years with the Rams, Sims has played 83 games, 111 tackles, 9.5 sacks, 2 interceptions, a forced fumble, and 3 fumble recoveries. The Rams drafted Sims out of, guess where, ladies and gentlemen? West Texas A&M in the 6th round of the 2010 draft. Had no idea he's from West Texas A&M. In case you guys haven't noticed, I think I announced it. If I didn't, I will be attending West Texas A&M University in Canyon, Texas, this fall. I know I was supposed to go to the University of Miami this spring. Sadly, things did not work out with financial issues, I guess you could say. And I had to look for another school, and I found West Texas, and I was like, whoa, great program, great radio program. They have guys working, men and women, but I'd say guys, working for all different sports companies, Fox, ESPN, things like that. I was like, okay, this is nice. They got sports coaching as well. And I was like, okay, this is even nicer. And Canyon, Texas, even though it's in West Texas, it's really not that bad. Really not that bad. So hopefully we can even talk to Eugene Sims here. I'm going to talk to his agency, see if we can get an interview, talk to him about his time at West Texas, and also him signing a 3-year deal to stay with the Los Angeles Rams. Now, recently, we've had Pittsburgh Steelers wide receiver Martavis Bryant. He's facing a year-long suspension from the NFL, his agent confirmed. The suspension is related to NFL drug testing. Bryant's agent said Saturday that the talented receiver plans to appeal his suspension, but obviously he has now dropped it and will officially be suspended for the 2016 season. Now, Bryant, he served a 4-game suspension last season for violating the league's substance abuse policy. The same thing. And apparently he is fighting depression and plans to enter a rehab Sunday for evaluation. We're all stunned, me included. We clearly miscalculated the issue. He isn't this thing doesn't make sense. His isn't a party issue. It's a coping issue and a depression issue. And we've got to take care of it. This is the biggest cry for help I've ever seen, and that hurts. It hurts us to see. He's 24 years old, and he's got to get it right, whatever it is. If you talk to anybody's family that has depression, they will be talking about these same things. The despondence, the withdrawal, the head in the sand despair. He's just trying to cope, end quote. That's what his his other agents, he has multiple agents, Brian Fetter, told USA Today Sports. After returning for his 4-game suspension last season, he did pretty freaking well. That's where he came out 50 receptions, 765 yards, 6 touchdowns in 11 games. Now, Pittsburgh, they decided to re-sign Darius Hayward-Bay to a 3-year extension because of Bryant being gone for 2016. Now, Bryant, he was spending part of the offseason in L.A., is going to miss $600,000. Ladies and gentlemen, not $6,000, $600,000 in 2016 salary. The 3rd year of his 4-year rookie contract. If the suspension holds, which it will, the Steelers would get salary cap relief. So obviously they don't have to pay him. They keep the money. But Martavis Bryant smoked a $600,000 joint. Now, originally, before the depression thing came out, I was going to just basically almost attack Martavis Bryant. And not just him, but to all these athletes that decide to smoke a joint over all this money and all this potential they have. It's crazy. It honestly is crazy. And it's just, now obviously he said he's dealing with depression. But the thing that gets me, and this tells me I would never sign with this agent, which is Brian Fetter. He says, we clearly miscalculated the issue. You knew about this. You knew that he was smoking weed. You knew that he had an issue at the time. You didn't know his depression, but you knew he had an issue smoking weed, and you did nothing about it. You let it happen. You, sir, I would never sign with you, and I hope no other athlete signs with him because he doesn't care. He wants to just continue to make big money, and I'm happy with it, and I'll help you get other endorsements. He doesn't care about your personal life. That's ridiculous. Second of all, a lot of people were like, before we found out the depression, they're like, why is there drug testing? Who cares what they do on their old time? Let them smoke weed. Weed should be illegal. All this other stuff. But if we didn't have drug testing and we had no punishment for smoking weed, then obviously, clearly, we would have never known that Martavis Bryant has a depression issue and anxiety. We would have never known. We would have never known. We would just thought, okay, he's just smoking weed like every other athlete out here. It's cool. There was a bigger issue to it. Now, me on my side, where I stand with marijuana, I don't believe there's that much proof that there's a ton of positives. I know people that smoke weed. I live in a ghetto area where most of the people I know smoke weed or have smoked weed. I've seen how they turned out. And trust me, none of them are in college, and none of them are that bright. I've seen what marijuana can truly do when they smoke a lot of weed, and they are not that bright. They are not that smart. Now, so I'm not a fan of marijuana. I would never smoke marijuana. I've been offered, never going to do it. One, it's illegal. I'm not trying to go to jail just for some stupid joint. And two, I've seen what it does, and trust me, I don't want to lose any brain cells. I'm already limited where I'm at. I don't want to lose anything more. So again, I was going to tag Martavis Bryant saying, was that joint worth $600,000? Because it ended up being $600,000. Now he's got a depression issue. I don't believe marijuana is it's gonna make you a little happy, I guess. Cool, I guess that ends depression for you at that time. But obviously it continues. So is it truly a healthy thing? Is it a healthy drug? Is it a helping coping issue? Absolutely not, because it gets you good for that day or that week, that hour, and you're right back at it. You're still depressed. That's not working. So, with that, obviously there's good things that we have drug testing, because it helps this type of thing that, yeah, you got caught. Yeah, you're losing $600,000 that you're not going to play at all this season. No matter what, you're not playing. And you got that. But we found out that you have a depression issue. So we're going to get you the right resources. We're going to get you the right help, so you're not having to deal with this. Martavis Bryant's only been in the league for 2 years. By rule, by the NFL's rules, that in order to get a year's suspension for failing the substance abuse policy, that means you have failed to test 6 times, at least 6 times. Because it says in there, 5 times, after you fail it 5 times, that's a 10-game suspension. And 6th time, that is a year suspension, minimum. And he got it. Now he got it 4 times, or he missed 4 games last time. So I don't know where the whole 10 game and the 6 game went, but it jumped straight to a year. And by rule, it says by 6 times after failing, you get the year. And he's got the year. So we'll have to see. It's a weird thing. I don't understand why athletes would want to blow their career, whether they're in high school, whether in college, or they're then in the pros. Why you would blow your potential, your career, for a joint or any other type of drug that's illegal. It blows my mind. $600,000. Imagine someone had a briefcase of $600,000. They're going to hand it to you right now. They say, you can either take this or we can smoke a blunt. Which one do you want to do? Believe it or not, most people are going to take the blunt because they're that desperate and they're that stupid. Martavis Bryant, I'm not calling him stupid. He's got an issue. But that shows you he did not surround himself with the right people. And obviously his agent, quote, we clearly miscalculated the issue. You let it happen. And I am pissed at that guy. But that's all I got to say. That's all I got to say. Moving on. The Buffalo Bills have fired defensive line coach Carl Dunbar. Dunbar joined Buffalo last season after 3 years with the New York Jets. With the defensive line with Coach Ryan. He was there with him. The defense underperformed last year. It had 54 sacks in 2014, 57 sacks, a franchise record in 2013, only 21 sacks, which was second fewest last season. Mario Williams leaves, big problem, and now Dunbar has been fired. But he was a good guy. He was at the combine. I was able to watch some of the interviews with him. Great guy. Johnny Manziel, Johnny Football, officially cleared waivers on Saturday after being released by the Cleveland Browns. The Browns will still be responsible for paying this guy $1.169 million in 2016 and $1.0004 million in 2017. Though any team that claims Manziel on waivers, which they didn't, would then take that money. So he's still going to get paid whether he has a job or doesn't by the Cleveland Browns. Manziel, he released a statement on Friday saying, quote, I'd like to thank the Browns for the opportunity they gave me nearly 2 years ago. We all hoped that we were building what could be a championship team for Cleveland. I will always remember the support I received from the organization, my teammates, and especially the fans, end quote. Ha! I laughed at that one when I heard we all thought we were building a championship team for Cleveland. Yeah, right. In 2 seasons with the Browns, Manziel played 15 games and made 8 starts. The Browns went 2-6 in those starts. Manziel completed 147 passes of 258 passes, which is 57%, and 7 touchdowns to 7 interceptions with a career passer rating of 74.4%. Great. Manziel, I think I'm done. I think I'm done with Manziel. I liked him. I was a fan of him. I kept hope alive for Manziel. I think the hope is gone for him. I think he truly doesn't care. The Cowboys aren't going to sign him. No team has even thought about signing him. Broncos aren't even going to sign him. I don't know. Broncos might be desperate. They might end up signing him. Might think, all right, John Elway's going to put a foot up your butt and you're going to deal with it. And you're going to be a quarterback. No, if he didn't give the time of day to Tebow, he's not going to give the time of day to Manziel. I thought I was going to talk about Manziel more, but honestly, I think we're all done. I think we're done with Manziel. Have fun in the CFL, buddy. Former San Diego Chargers safety Eric Weddle, he has signed with the Baltimore Ravens on a 4-year deal. I was going to talk about that too, but guess what? I wrote about it. You guys can go check it out on the shortsportshow.squarespace.com. Go check it out, ladies and gentlemen. It is up there. If you don't want to type it in, you can go on my Twitter at @shortsportsshow, and you can scroll through the tweets, and you'll find it there as well. New Ravens wide receiver Mike Wallace talked a little bit of trash about the Vikings and quarterback Teddy Bridgewater. He said he had no intention of re-signing with the Vikings. Quote, when the process started, I knew I wasn't going to go back to Minnesota. I was like, I need a good quarterback. I need a quarterback who I know is proven and can get things done. Now, Wallace, his comments, a little shocking because he views Teddy Bridgewater as having a weak arm as a major concern. And says that Teddy Bridgewater isn't a good quarterback because he said he needed a good quarterback. And apparently Teddy was not good enough for him. I completely disagree. I think Mike Wallace is just one of those ball hogs who wants the ball every time there's a play running. Even if you're running the ball, he says he wants it. We've seen Mike Wallace have problems, issues with teams and players. And I think this is one of them. Teddy, no one's ever said anything bad about Teddy Bridgewater. No one has. At least from a team, a player. No one has said anything bad about Teddy Bridgewater. He's still young, but he's proven himself. I don't think he has that weak of an arm. It's not the strongest. That's a guarantee. It's not the strongest, but it's also kind of hard playing in negative degree weather outside in Minnesota. I mean, it's not ideal, especially for a Florida boy. Not ideal. But, for Mike Wallace to say that, disrespectful and stupid by him. Because, I mean, there's no need for that. There's no need for that. We all know Teddy Bridgewater is a good player. Mike Wallace, maybe it's just you that didn't show up because if he has a weak arm, you dropped a lot of passes, buddy. So that shows you, what are you going to do with the stronger arm? I don't know. Broncos re-signed restricted free agent running back C.J. Anderson to a 4-year, $18 million deal. They matched the offer of the Miami Dolphins, so they are able to retain C.J. Anderson. And someone brought up a good point. It was a panic thing. They're now going to pay him. They easily could have saved $5 million before letting him go. They could have just re-signed him and most likely would have saved $5 million because he was making him, I forgot what the money, it was like $600,000, $500,000 or something like that. That's how much he was making. Could have signed him to a much cheaper contract and would have been set. Or if he didn't agree to that, they could have placed a first-round tender on him. They let him go as an unrestricted free agent. You were good to go. They could have restricted him. They could have put a first-round tender, a second-round tender, third-round tender. They could have placed anything on him. So that way, if Miami was going to sign him, they would have to sign him, obviously take the contract, or obviously sign him to a new contract. But Miami would have to give up a first-round draft pick, something they would not do. And therefore, you could have kept C.J. Anderson at a much cheaper price. Now you've got to pay him a pretty good amount of money. It was a panic button. It was a panic reach because you're like, okay, we don't have a quarterback. We can't lose our running back. Hillman, he's still a free agent, and they're most likely not going back to him. They need Anderson. He was their closer. He was their bruiser. And it was a panic. Broncos are losing free agency. The Jacksonville Jaguars signed former Steelers offensive tackle Kelvin Beachum. He's reportedly supposed to compete with Luke Jokel, who was the second overall pick a few years ago and hasn't produced that well and has been terrible actually. So now he's supposed to help push him, but it's like, well, you signed him to a pretty big deal, so you might want to start him at some position on the offensive line, and he better be good at it. And so as we go to the NFL and the free agency, let's look at who's left. We got Russell Okung, left tackle, 28 years old. He was with the Seattle Seahawks last season in his entire career. He's visited the New York Giants, the Detroit Lions, and the Pittsburgh Steelers. Again, Steelers just lost their offensive tackle. Maybe Russell goes there. He's also still, not visiting because obviously he's been there his whole career. With the Seattle Seahawks, they're still up there that could still sign him. Ryan Fitzpatrick is there, of course. Reggie Nelson, safety, 32 years old, so that might hurt him. He had 8 interceptions last season, but his age, 32 years old. Some other guys, Donald Penn, he just re-signed with the Oakland Raiders. You got Reggie Bush, Lance Dunbar, Ronnie Hillman at running backs, Greg Hardy, B.J. Raji, he retired. Aldon Smith, he's suspended for, is he suspended for a whole year too? I don't know. He's suspended for a while, but he can still sign with somebody. You got Cam Thomas, who used to be with the Chargers and the Pittsburgh Steelers. Manny Ramirez, I don't know if he signed yet with someone. I have a feeling he signed with the Lions, but if he didn't, he's a free agent. Anquan Bolden, if he re-signs with the 49ers, not. Chad Greenway, Colin Jenkins of the Giants, he's still out there. Center Stephen Winowski, I believe, with the Jacksonville Jaguars, he's still out there. LeGarrette Blount, Daquan Bowers, Brandon Boykin, all these guys are still out there. There's plenty of talent out there for teams to sign, but we'll just have to see. We move on to the NFL, to the NBA. I told you guys we would get there once playoffs comes closer. It's getting closer. The San Antonio Spurs 32 or 33-0 now at home. It's unbelievable. They beat the Los Angeles Clippers in an amazing game last night. Now, if the playoffs started Monday, when I wrote for the show, Portland would have been in Oklahoma City. And didn't look too good. Russell Westbrook went off 17 points, 16 assists, 10 rebounds. His 12th triple-double of the season. And Oklahoma City beat the Trailblazers 128-94 on Monday night. Westbrook had his 31st triple-double of his career and matched Sacramento Kings Rajon Rondo for the most assists without a turnover in a game this season. Durant said, quote, "We know we might face these guys in the playoffs, so we wanted to send a message." I like that. Damian Lillard, he did pretty well, 21 points. CJ McCollum added 15 for the Trailblazers, who have lost 5 of 7. They shot 34.1% from the field. Not going to do it. And not a way to get ready for the playoffs for the Trailblazers. Now the Thunder, they improved to 12-0 this season when Westbrook gets a triple-double. That's also only happened 12 times. And he fell 1 rebound short of having it by halftime. So we'll have to see. And they play one more time on April 6th before the playoffs happen. Let's see what else we've got here. Andre Iguodala for the Golden State Warriors. He will miss a minimum of 2 weeks because of a sprained left ankle. Clippers rookie Brandon Dawson was arrested Sunday morning on suspicion of spousal abuse, a felony charge. He was released on a $500,000 bond, but Dawson was still arrested. Obviously was arrested, involving his live-in girlfriend. Not good as a rookie. It's where question making. It's question making. Jimmy Butler, he returned for the Chicago Bulls. He scored 13 points on 5 of 8 shooting Monday against the Raptors after missing past week's game because of ongoing issues with his left knee. Chicago won 109-107, and that's it for the NBA. That's it for the NBA. Major League Baseball news, 18 more days until opening day, and that's all I had to say. I just wanted to throw that out there. We're 18 more days. I have I'll tell you my fantasy baseball real quick. Run through it real quickly if I can find my app. Fantasy baseball, I did it. I feel like I got a solid team. I feel like it's pretty solid. You guys let me know. This is okay, why is it doing that? What's going on? I got Russell Martin as my catcher. Paul Goldschmidt as my first baseman. Matt Carpenter of my second baseman, from TCU, of course. Miguel Sano, I have a feeling he's going to do pretty good this year. Miguel Sano at third base. Corey Seager at shortstop. Yoenis Cespedes at outfield. Matt Kemp. DeAndre Fowler outfield. Juan Abreu. I said his last name wrong, I know. Abreu. I got to get back into baseball, guys. At my utility, Sin-Shu Chu at outfield, but also on the bench. Brandon Crawford, Jock Peterson, and Addison Russell, is that his name? Yeah, Addison Russell and Matt Duffy. All these guys on the bench. As for pitcher, I got Jose Fernandez. Oh, man, the guy from New York, Noah Syndergaard, I believe. Mark Melicon. I got to get back into baseball. I'm sorry, guys. I'm screwing this up. Wade Davis, another Mets pitcher. Let's see what his first name is because I can't pronounce it. Is it Familia? Is that really his last name, Familia? I don't even know how to say his first name. Screw that. John Lackey, and then last guy pitcher is Carlos Martinez of the St. Louis Cardinals. That, I feel like it's pretty solid. That's pretty freaking solid if you ask me. Now moving on to the NBA. Basketball, really? College basketball. March Madness is finally here. So we're going to talk about it. Now, it was leaked, apparently. I was going to talk about it, but I feel like we've all heard it. I've heard it about 3 times on different podcasts. I don't think I have to bring it up again. I'm pretty sure you guys have heard it. Now, CBS spokesman said that the network would have no comment on the league bracket, while the NCAA made a statement that they're investigating the situation, which is good, but it's not a big deal. Now, what was a big deal is the seeding that they have, and it is very questionable. You know, where teams are being placed right now. I've followed college basketball the whole year, and more in depth this season than I have in past years. I just haven't talked about it on the show because it's such a long year, and we had NFL and things like that I didn't really care that we were to talk about it. But now it is. Now, Kentucky Athletic Director Mitch Benhart wants the NCAA tournament selection process to be more transparent before brackets are announced, which is true. I think they should. Wildcats coach John Calipari criticized the process after Kentucky was seeded 4th in the East region despite beating Texas A&M, who is now a number 3 seed, to win the SEC championship. Yeah, I would be mad too. And this is what he had to say. So I love it. It's funny. I always said the same crap as well. Now, my bracket, I'm gonna let you know. I'm not gonna go through the whole thing. I'm gonna go to the round of 8 to let you guys know who made it. I have Maryland versus Villanova, Oregon versus Oklahoma, Kentucky versus West Virginia, and Virginia taking on Michigan State in the round of 8. Then the Final Four, even though they're calling it the semifinals, it's the Final Four. I got Villanova taking on Oklahoma, and Kentucky taking on Michigan State. In the end, I have Villanova. Nova. I got them. Going against Michigan State, and I have Michigan State winning the whole thing through and through. Now, I've made multiple brackets. I've got different Final Fours, different Elite Eights. That's the one I'm going by on my, with Yahoo, which you can join my bracket. Go on to theshortsportshow.squarespace.com and click on the article with the college basketball. You could you can follow that link, and you could join my Yahoo pool for the Short Sports Show. And join there, make your bracket there, and go from there, guys. You get a shout out on the show and tweet everything, all the good stuff. But yeah, that's where I got my bracket. And that's what I'm going with. We're doing one at work, but either way, all my brackets, no matter who's in the Final Four, who's in the Elite Eight, I have Michigan State winning it all. I feel like they're gonna have their own story with Valentine and Tom Izzo. I think they got their own story to them. That it's just destiny for them to win it, no matter what. I think they win it all. Oklahoma, Kansas, Kentucky, all really good teams. Virginia, Oregon, all really good teams. All bring something different, dynamic to their offenses and defenses, and going to have great matchups, that's for sure. But in the end, I think Michigan State is just the veteran team, and they're just going to pull it out in the end. So I'm going with them. And that is it for today's show, guys. I hope you guys enjoyed. If you did, be sure to hit that like button. Please rate it on iTunes. Give it a 5-star rating and a comment and a review down below. If you're listening on iTunes, iHeartRadio, YouTube, Spreaker.com, Stitcher Radio, thank you guys so much for listening. You guys are what make this possible. Thank you so much. And as always, God first, God bless. And I will see you guys next Wednesday. I'm out. Peace.
Forever, I'ma do this here forever. Forever, I'ma do this here forever. Forever, I'ma do this here forever. Forever, I'ma do this here forever.
I done came way too far for me to stop it now. I done worked way too hard just to drop it now.